Hey friends, this is Natalie Irvan, and welcome to the ICU podcast, where we explore how we can find significance in the unseen work of leaders and learn to be intentional to truly see others in our everyday lives. I can't wait to share with you, so let's get started. Today's scripture is 1 Peter 4:10. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Hey friends, welcome back to the ICU podcast. Today I'm joined by a great friend of mine and a mentor. Her name is Caroline Bowman. So thank you, Caroline, so much for being with us. When we first started the podcast, I know I had asked you to come on and you were a bit hesitant because I know that you like to be prepared and just get nervous in situations like this. But I just knew that the purpose of the podcast is to really highlight leaders that are doing something in the community that a lot of people may not know about. And it's very impactful. And you were one of the first people I thought about because you've changed so many lives. And even my own child has benefited from your expertise in what you do. And so I really wanted other people to know and just be aware that there are people like you out there who seek to help families and children. And so I'm really excited that you're here. Thank you for finally agreeing to come on. And I think people are going to gain so much from what you have to say today. So just start off by telling everybody who you are and what you do.
My name is Caroline Bowman, and I am a speech-language pathologist. I live in Brooklet, Georgia, with my husband, Kevin, and our 2 children.
Yeah, you have a lovely family.
Thank you.
We got to know each other through church initially. And then my daughter, Harper, who has some different challenges, speech challenges, but then also OT challenges, started going to the therapy spot. And we'll talk a lot about the therapy spot because it is such a central part of your life. But I kind of want to go back to where you're from and kind of what inspired you to get into the therapeutic world.
Well, I really appreciate you asking me and really asking me that question because it did allow me to go back and really reflect.
Yeah.
And I am very thankful that I knew God's calling on my life really early. Yeah. And you made me think back to exactly when. And I remember being in the 4th grade and my teacher asking, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" And my answer was, "I'm going to help people." And I remember that being in the 4th grade. I'm not sure I knew what that looked like. But somewhere around that period of time, there was this sweet old lady in my church who I really enjoyed being around. And I didn't have grandparents that lived in the town that I grew up in, Cochran, Georgia, which is a really small town in the middle of the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
But I didn't have grandparents there, and so I asked this sweet lady in my church, her name was Blanche Davis, if she would be my adopted grandmother.
Oh, I bet she loved that.
And so we started spending time
sweet.
together,
Yeah.
and she was the activities director at our local nursing home in Cochran. Okay. And so when I was in the 4th grade, on Friday afternoons, I would ride the bus to the nursing home. Oh. And I would help Miss Blanche do her job as the activities director. Cool. And I loved it. It was the highlight of my week. I would stay there with her. I remember it being dark when she took me home. I don't know why I remember that, but I would help her get residents to the social hall where they could do the activities. I would take them to the dining hall. I would spend time with them. I would do
loved that.
Nails. I would help do their hair. And when I think back to that time, I also remember one particular woman that I was very drawn to, and she was blind. But I loved spending time with her. I loved helping her get where she needed to be, and it just made me feel good to be able to do that. And then fast forward to high school, my senior year of high school, I had PE at the very same time as the self-contained special education classroom at my high school. And I'm very thankful because I can honestly say that the individuals in that classroom, God used them to change the trajectory of my life. Three in particular that I remember their names, Derek and Clifton and Joanne, my sweet friend Joanne, who had Down syndrome, had my heart. And we helped that class do activities during PE. We helped them get ready for Special Olympics. We helped them train. And I remember that Joanne could run really fast. But again, I realized or was affirmed that God's calling on my life was to help people. And I really believe that those individuals, part of their purpose in life was to show me what my purpose was.
Wow.
And I realized at that point that I really was drawn to individuals with special needs. And I knew that's what I was going to do in some capacity.
Wow.
My mom was a school teacher, and she really encouraged me to explore all the different possibilities other than being a special education teacher, which was also, on the table as a possibility.
Right.
And as I began exploring other careers, I found speech therapy and saw that that would be a way that I really could be a helper.
Right.
And but I had a lot of options and a lot of different settings that I could work in. But growing up in Cochrane, I had a small town kind of experience, and I had the opportunity to go to the local university. My dad was a vice president at that university, Middle Georgia College, and it was never up for discussion whether or not I would go to Middle Georgia. I was going to go there first, and then after that I could do whatever I wanted. So I went to Middle Georgia for my first 2 years and then went on to Valdosta State and got my bachelor's and my master's degree there at Valdosta State.
Both in speech?
In speech therapy, yes.
Awesome. Okay. So at what point did you meet your husband?
So that's kind of an interesting part of the story. Kevin is also from Cochrane. We grew up in the same neighborhood, actually, for part of my childhood until my parents moved to the other side of town. But he had just graduated from the University of Georgia and had moved back home with his parents, started his first job halfway through my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And that's when he caught my eye. We started dating. And again, I was living at home, going to Middle Georgia, and we knew I would need to go off to school.
Right.
So my dad was very adamant that I was going to get my associate's degree and walk through graduation because he really wanted to give me my diploma. So I've always said, one Saturday my dad gave me my diploma, and then the very next Saturday he gave me away. So Kevin moved away with me to college. He was my college roommate. He worked. I went to college, and so I was a typical college-age student, but had more of a non-traditional, experience because my husband was my college roommate.
Aww.
And then we both, through an unexpected chain of events, it wasn't in our plan to move to Bullitt County, but we both got jobs in Savannah, but really felt led to put our roots down in Bullitt County, particularly Southeast Bullock, where we had an easy commute into Chatham County
that's true.
every day. So that's how we ended up in Brooklet.
I don't actually think I knew that part of your story about how you and Kevin met. So that's really interesting in that he supported you from the get-go, wherever you feel like the Lord's leading you. And I think that's been kind of a testament of your marriage since, is that you guys kind of have done things together. Wherever the Lord's led you, that's what you've done. And that's just really beautiful. So once you got to Bullitt County, tell me about the therapy spot. Did you know what you wanted to do as far as, I know you had a job in Savannah, but what did it look like moving that to to Statesboro?
So I started out working in hospitals. I worked in a couple of hospitals, did some home health, did early intervention, and I don't remember when I actually made that decision, but it was probably pretty close to having Carter when I realized I'd like a job with a little more flexibility, and I knew in private practice I could have that. And so I started out again in hospitals mostly. Really, that's where I discovered I really loved working with individuals with feeding and swallowing issues, which has kind of become my specialty area in the past several years. But started out as just a couple of speech pathologists. I have a business partner, Leah Lanier, and we were a couple of speech pathologists who decided to go into private practice together. There really wasn't a private practice in Statesboro at the time. And so the therapy spot began in 2007, and we only offered speech therapy to begin with. And I worked part-time. I was a mom the rest of the time, which was my goal. And we eventually realized that a lot of the children that we worked with needed more than speech therapy. Yeah. So now, all these years later, our goal is to provide speech, physical, and occupational therapy.
Yeah. Tell me about the vision that you had as you started the therapy spot and kind of how you casted that vision as more people joined, as more therapists joined the therapy spot.
Well, I think it's always been really important that everyone who works for us knows that we're gifted with different gifts to bring God glory, and those giftings might look different for different people. But whether you work in our front office, whether you do our billing, whether you're a therapist, we're all there to serve others. And a few years after we started the therapy spot, we probably didn't have a set mission yet, as we were just kind of growing and evolving. But the American Speech and Hearing Association had its national convention in Atlanta a few years after the therapy spot started, and I went to that conference, and where other speech pathologists and audiologists from all over the United States came. And I was very excited that the keynote speaker at that conference was Maya Angelou, who was a very eloquent speaker and poet. And I was very excited to know that I was going to get to see her in person. And I still have a very vivid memory of this beautiful woman dressed to kill, probably in her 80s at that point, being rolled out onto the stage in a wheelchair. And just these eloquent words just flowing off of her tongue. I had my phone. I was trying to take notes of all these just beautiful things that she was saying. And I noticed there's no teleprompter. It's just all coming from her brain, which just blew me away. And she told of how she had a very troubled childhood. There was a lot of trauma, a lot of really, bad things that she had to endure as a child. And she shared that she was a stutterer, which is something that we as speech pathologists treat. Which was, very relatable to us. And she talked about her trials, the things that she had to endure as a child, and she compared those to storms or clouds that people have in their lives. And then she said, in the Bible, God also sent clouds. He sent storms. He sent a flood. And then she smiled and said, but out of those clouds, he sent a rainbow. And then she looked out to all of the thousands of speech pathologists and audiologists that were in the audience. And I remember her pointing and saying, and all of you are the rainbow in someone's cloud. And as that started to sink in, I really started thinking, you know what? that's really why we do what we do. If you come through the doors of the therapy spot, you're there for some type of cloud.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a really light cloud, a small cloud, because maybe your child needs some practice with saying a particular sound.
Right.
Maybe they need practice with learning to produce their R, or they're a stutterer, or maybe they're not meeting their physical milestones on time. But whatever it is, it's a cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you're there. So our job every day is to be the rainbow in someone's cloud, no matter what that cloud is. Right. And again, that goes from our front office to the therapists that work with the families individually. But we adopted that as our mission after Maya Angelou compared us as therapists to rainbows. And I really feel like that if everyone can say every day that they've done that, then we've met our mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have heard you say that before, and I wanted you to tell it because it makes me emotional every time I hear it, because I think it's personally been my experience with my own child. And, you as a parent know how it feels when your child struggles. You know how it feels to not be able to fix everything. We're powerless in that way. We have control over very little. And then we have to have a team and a village of people that come around us who can meet the needs that we're unable to meet. And of course, ultimately, the Lord meets every need that we have, but he uses people to do that. And I think, the therapy spot has been a place that the Lord has used to support us as we've gone through a lot of clouds in our life. And so to hear that, and then to see the demeanor in which your therapists meet all of their families, because we all sit in the same room, we're waiting, and you meet different families and you form these relationships, and you're sitting out there, and every one of us has our own individual stories, and our children are struggling with a myriad of things. None of us have the same story. And so sometimes it makes me really grateful. And then other times, I want to support somebody else who's in a different situation. And so I think it's a very unique, almost family-like environment that you create there, is that we all have a cloud, but you guys are there. And every day, and I know it's hard because I'm a teacher, it's hard sometimes when you are worn out, and every child has a different struggle. So it's not as if you can just go through a routine and do the same thing for every kid. Every kid's different. And so the mental capacity that takes can be tolling on your body, on you mentally. But the way that the therapists come out and greet every single child is like, it's beautiful. It's like, I'm happy you're here. I see you. You're important to me. Your family's important to me. And I just think that the culture that you have created there is very touching. It's very impactful to not just the children, but also to the parents. And it gives us confidence,
Well, thank you. And when you mention the waiting room, it's really a blessing when we see sometimes the bonds that people that may not have even known each other that end up sitting in the waiting room together every week. Establish a relationship. Yep. I can think of a couple of sweet grandmothers who used to bring their children to therapy every week, would so look forward to the time that they got to sit together while their grandchildren were having their therapy. We've seen support groups be birthed out of the waiting room. I've overheard conversations with single parents, talking about the struggles of raising a child with special needs with another single parent. We have had parents to offer to help other parents in different capacities when they are struggling. And it's really beautiful to see, that families, they get to know each other that way as well. That's really special.
Know with Adeline, my youngest, she comes with us because she and I, sit while we wait on Harper, and there's another child that had come in, and he has a specific set of needs, and Adeline had a lot of questions in the beginning, and I encouraged her, well, ask him his name, or, ask him how his day was. And so I kind of modeled that for her, because I think it's important not only for us as adults to, learn the people around us, regardless of the diversities that they have, but it's important, like you in the 4th grade, to be able to be exposed to people of all different types of abilities and talents and giftedness that, it's nothing to be afraid of or intimidated by. We're all people. And so she has really, I've seen her grow so much that now she says, hey, so-and-so, he's outside, he's about to come in, Mom. And she'll say hi to him, and she'll greet him and ask him about his day. And it is really cool to see that in my youngest, just to watch that it's impacting her too. It's good for everybody to be exposed.
I completely agree.
A variety of children.
I'm very thankful that my children had the opportunity to grow up being in that setting and getting to meet some of the families and the kids that I've gotten to work with over the years. And again, to realize that they're just kids just like you, and there may be differences in how we respond or how we speak or how we move,
right?
But we're all the same, and we're all God's children, and He made us all in His image.
Yeah. And I love that you encourage even, just whatever space you're in. Like I can even think here at the church, you're just such a good advocate for those children, because they deserve to be in every space. And I think that it's important that not only are you serving the families at your job, but you're also offering your support and your expertise for other people as well. And I think that's what, being a community is all about, is taking the gifts that God has given you and using them in whatever way that you can. And I know that you and Kevin do a lot in the community as well. So tell me about just how you have encouraged your kids even to just be a part of the community, either whether the church community, the fostering community, the things that you do outside of the therapy spot.
Well, I think our life, we've tried to really center around our relationship with Jesus, and that being first, and our family being second, and, doing what God tells us to do. And we try to be very active, in our church. My daughter and I both serve in Connection Kids. My son is off at college, so, of course, when he is at home, he's with us. Yeah. My husband serves in guest services. But throughout the years, as we've had community events, I've always encouraged my children to be a part of things. Again, I want them to have that exposure to a diverse group of people, and to learn to love, everyone regardless. And again, I just feel like that's a very important character trait, to have. And this summer, you mentioned the foster community. I did have a great opportunity to serve at Royal Family Kids Camp here in Statesboro, which is probably one of the biggest blessings I've ever received in my life. But one of the biggest blessings was watching my son serve there as well. We went and were at camp with these amazing kids, ages 7 to 11, for 4 days at 7th Mile Farm. And it was just very, very impactful. I would encourage anyone just to get involved. It's such a phenomenal thing. It changed. I know it changed his life. And he can't wait to go back and serve again this summer. And I feel the very same way. And then the other way that I think we serve in the community that really just kind of birthed out of the therapy spot and the work we do every day with children is a civic organization that I'm a part of and that you're a part of, called Ambucs. And Ambucs is a national nonprofit civic organization, but we chartered a chapter here in Statesboro several years ago, and Ambucs stands for American Business Clubs, and it's a civic organization that was started back in the 30s by a man in business that said we can pool our resources together and our manpower together, and they adopted the mission of shoulders together. So if we go shoulders together in our community, we can do great things. Absolutely. And over the years, that nonprofit has funneled down to an organization that spends most of its money and time and effort into fundraising and purchasing adaptive bicycles, or tricycles we call them, because they all have 3 wheels, to give to any individual who cannot safely ride a traditional bicycle. And so that's another way that we can serve. We can find children in our practice who could benefit, but also children and adults in the community that could potentially need them. And those Amtrikes come at no cost to the individuals who receive them. Our PTs and our OTs in our practice, and also all across Bullock County, we have other therapists that help us with that effort, find individuals who need them. They evaluate, they look at what base model Amtrike that individual might need, and then what kind of adaptations need to be added to it so that individual can ride. And some of the models are arm-driven for individuals that don't have use of their legs. Some of the models are hand and foot-driven, so they can use both. Some have a bar on the back, so a parent or a caregiver can push them to start that propulsion of the pedals. But whatever we need to do to make it possible for an individual to ride a bike, they try to make that happen.
Yeah, and we're very lucky recipients of an Amtrike through the therapy spot, just knowing I didn't even know that was a possibility. Harper had been on training wheels for a really long time, and she's tall like her dad. Doesn't get it from me, but she's tall, and we knew that, she's going to grow out of being able to use, the training wheels. And it's really because of her different challenges, she has a hard time balancing, and we knew it's really going to be dangerous for her to ride a bike without training wheels. And so at that point, we were kind of at a loss. Her sister was getting older, so she was wanting to be able to do all the things her sister could do. And so you had mentioned an Amtrike, and I had absolutely no idea what that was, and really felt like, you always think like, well, we don't need that. Like, let's give it to somebody who needs it even more. And of course, there's always going to be people who maybe need it more than you do, but it's built for anybody who needs it and who has challenges. And so we went through the process and ended up fundraising. And what was it, like a day? We were completely funded.
I'm pretty sure it was like a 24-hour period.
It was crazy.
Her bike was funded. That just also shows like the great support network and friends and church community that Harper and your family has.
And I just, it's amazing what God does, and like I said, uses people to do, but just like, when you're part of a church community, life change happens. It really does in so many different ways and aspects, and this was just one of them. And so they fitted her for the bike. We had a big celebration, and all the therapists were just so wonderful. We want it to be a big deal. And even the firemen put it together. And so, there's a lot of different ways that we celebrate kids who receive bikes or the trikes. And she, was like a speed demon in that thing. As soon as she got it, she just thought it was the best thing ever. And it has a little spot on the back for her baby doll to ride. And it doesn't get any better than that. But now she, rides very confidently, is safe. We can trust that she's safe. And that just is such a blessing. And I know that one of the parents had shared with us that her son, all the kids in the neighborhood would ride and he would be left out. And when he got his Amtrak, he was finally able to ride his bike with everybody else. And in fact, a lot of the other kids think that that bike is actually cooler than their bike because it's really interesting and it looks different. And so a lot of times the other kids are like, well, I want that bike. You know, that was one of the first things Adeline said, well, how come I don't get that bike? So it's very, very, very special. And I think it's just another way to help all kids feel included and let every kid be a kid because they deserve that opportunity. And so we're just so thankful for Ambucs and the work that they do. And that's why I wanted to be a part of it. That's why we want people to know about Amtrak's because a lot of people just don't have the knowledge to know that even grown-ups can do that and have that opportunity. So another thing that we do that we want to talk about because it's coming up in February is the Stars for Trikes. And this event, I mean, to say that I was laughing, crying, celebrating, it is the most beautiful event. So can you tell us kind of like how this event got started, what you do, and how people can get involved?
Yeah. So again, we have a local chapter of Ambucs, and anyone in the community, you know, can join.
Can be part of it.
And we have about 25 members right now, but we're always looking for, you know, other PTs and OTs in the community, but also just community members that want to get involved. And again, the Amtrak's come at no cost to the individual who receives them. So we have to figure out how to raise the money to get these Amtrak's that cost on average anywhere between $500 and $2,500, depending upon the model and all the adaptations that are made. Because just like Harper's bike, it was built just for Harper with exactly what she needed. Sure. Each individual trike is a base model with lots of things added to it. We find out, you know, an estimate or a quote on that bike, and then we either fundraise for it, or if we already have the money, you know, in our account, we order it. But a few years ago, we initially were just fundraising as needed, like Harper's needs a bike. We would do a Facebook campaign, who wants to donate towards Harper's bike. And again, hers was funded in 24 hours. But not everyone has that kind of support network behind their family. And so some families really depended on us to help. And we sometimes had anonymous people to make donations, but we were constantly fundraising. So a couple of years ago, we said, what if we work really hard to do one big fundraiser per year, and hopefully that will give us the funding we need to buy all the Amtrak's we need for the year. Because again, our chapter, we buy Amtrak's, and then we also are involved in special community projects like the new fully inclusive playground that the latest class of Leadership Bullock built.
Which is amazing,
on
by the way.
YMCA property. Yes.
So incredible.
Such a dream come true for us. But that's really all we spend our money on. But we decided, let's work hard and do something that would be really fun, where we could celebrate the individuals that maybe are receiving these trikes, but we could do this once a year. So if you think Tim Tebow's Night to Shine and Dancing with the Stars collide. That was kind of our vision for this event. To really celebrate the participants that are in this event. And it would be kind of a talent show or a celebration of whatever their ability is. And that people would buy tickets to come to the event. We would have a People's Choice Award, just like Dancing with the Stars does. We would take donations, and then we'd also have a silent auction as a way to raise money. We're very thankful for Pioneer Design for being our creative partner for this event. They have helped us think of all the things. But the first question that Sean Fox asked was, well, how much do you want to raise for this event? And I really didn't know the answer to that. I had no idea what was reasonable, what we could do. And so we really set a goal for $10,000 for our first event. And we raised $30,000. But
it's amazing.
In addition to raising $30,000, which means we can buy that many more Amtrikes, just the community coming together. Georgia Southern athletes, through Athletes in Action, were a big part of making this event possible. So we basically paired up each participant with what we called a buddy that was an athlete from Georgia Southern. We had football players last year, we had volleyball players, and their responsibility was to help their participant complete whatever talent there was. And I'm not going to give away what's happening this year, but just to give some examples of last year, we had a young man to arm wrestle a Georgia Southern quarterback.
That's what I was going to say.
He won. We had a little boy do stunts on his Amtrike.
Very Evel Knievel style.
Evel Knievel, jumping through a ring of fire with the help of some really large Georgia Southern strong football players.
Yes.
We had individuals dance. We had individuals sing. We had individuals do yoga.
Oh, yeah.
There were just lots of fun events, and all of them were just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And just to be able to celebrate all of those individuals, we have a red carpet, and we were so thankful that the red carpet was very long because it was so crowded. We had so many people lining the red carpet waiting to cheer them on as they came in for this event. And your husband, John, was a fabulous MC. Along with two other MCs that are now adults that received Amtrikes when they were little boys. And it was very
so
special to have Jake Palmer and Jason Michael Carpenter.
Did an amazing job.
Co-MC with John, and we hope that's going to be the very same this year.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So we're planning the events on February the 6th at Connection Church. Yep. Tickets are $10. They can be purchased on the website, starsfortrikes.com, or you can also find statesboroambucs.com. We're also on social media under Statesboro Ambucs. And so you can find tickets and information about the event there. We have 14 participants this year.
That's great.
The youngest is 1 years old, and his talent is very spectacular. I cannot wait.
I can't wait.
And then the oldest participant we have is a girl who was also in the event last year who's 22. So a very wide range. And we have our Georgia Southern athletes coming back again. We get athletes that are in the off season, which are football players and volleyball players and some cheerleaders.
And they were so into it last year. And that's what made it so special is it really is, it feels like a celebration. Like the red carpet, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, it was brand new, just something that I'd never experienced before. And I stood, lined the red carpet and watching them walk in, and those football players, the way they treated those kids, I just thought this is the coolest memory, and what a spectacular way for both of their lives to be enriched. You know, I think that it goes both ways. It's such a blessing to be involved in something like that. And, we're also looking for businesses to do the silent auction. If a business wants to donate something, we're setting up a really great auction so that people can hopefully bid on some really cool items. And it's another way just to raise money for the event. But I'm really excited. And after I went last year, I just talked about it nonstop. So I'm hoping a lot of my friends will come and support too. And, you don't have to be part of the Therapy Spot or Ambucs or anything. It's just anybody in the community who wants to come out and watch these spectacular individuals can do that. It's so special. I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah, we're
so that's
excited.
February 6th.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So I really have just enjoyed like hearing how you got started, your vision. I just think what you do is so beautiful. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for being who you are and for raising your family to be who they are, because they're going to carry that on. I'm very confident in that. But I do want to, just a little lighthearted, Fangirl 5 questions.
Okay.
If you're ready for me.
I'm ready.
Listen, she's a planner, and so I did not want to spring these on her, but they are fun questions that I'm excited to know about you. Okay, so question number 1. If money weren't an issue, what would your dream weekend look like?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is like a really remote place, like what I thought about was maybe Fiji. Those like bungalows that are out in the water, but like the floors are plexiglass. So you can see the fish like swimming underneath.
Yep.
So I was just thinking like remote, tropical, quiet, but just to enjoy God's beauty and chill was what kind of came to mind.
That would be very peaceful. I've seen those when we go on cruises and we stop in the private islands for the cruise ship, and they have those that you can rent. We're the peasants that are on the beach, and they're the ones that are out in the ocean. But I say that, but we're lucky to be there in the first place. But yeah, I've seen those, and they look really beautiful. Okay, if your life had a theme song right now, what would it be?
That one was hard for me. I thought of several, but I guess the one that I hope will always be my theme song, I thought about New Wine by Hillsong.
Yes.
And
Love
you know
song.
that's an oldie, but just one that I just think, just make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing but all that you've given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. And I think in every stage of life, there are challenges, there's hard things that we are learning to deal with, but God is shaping us and growing us through that. And no matter what the circumstances are, I just hope that I've never thought about having a theme song, but now I've decided that's
your theme song.
That's my theme song. No matter what stage of life I'm in, like I want him to keep bringing new wine out of me.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, this it could go along with it. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think that I would remind myself that God doesn't need my help. And I would remind my younger self that, but I still have to remind myself that all the time. As you said, I'm a planner, I'm a prepper. I don't like to fly by the seat of my pants. I like to know the direction that I'm going in. I like to be prepared, and sometimes I struggle with thinking that I know better than God does, and I try to be in control, and that control causes a lot of anxiety.
Yep.
It causes me to feel like I'm not enough.
Absolutely.
And I think that I constantly have to remind myself, and it would have helped me a lot more to realize that early on. One of my favorite verses of Scripture is Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God, not you. I am God. And I think that he has to constantly remind me that I've got this, and I don't need your help, even though I think he does. And I have to remind myself, you're wrong. Let it go, because he has a plan and he has a path, and you need to let him have that. But I do, and I lay it down, but then I take it right back.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that's a daily reminder. I try to carve out time, especially first thing in the morning when my house is quiet, everyone else is still asleep, to spend time in the Word and spend time in prayer and come to meet with my Creator. And I read several years ago in a Priscilla Shirer devotional that she really challenged the reader to give God the first and the best part of our day. But then she also said, when you start your prayer, say, God, I have come to gather my manna. I've come to gather what I need just for today. I'm not going to try to gather what I need for tomorrow or the rest of my week, but God, give me my manna for today. And then tomorrow, I'm going to get up expectantly again, and I'm going to ask for it again. But give me what I need for today and help me not to be concerned about everything else. But what opportunities are you going to give me today? Where can I trust you today? And, how can I live my life that glorifies you? And, but I need that constant reminder and that constant connection to Him.
Absolutely. I think it's a great piece of advice for kids and adults every single day. Like you said, it's a daily surrender and decision. Okay, a little more lighthearted. Let's see. What food could you eat every day and never get tired of?
That one was a good one, too. I would describe a really bougie wood-fired pizza with prosciutto, figs, arugula, and balsamic glaze. Because I can get all my food groups together.
I love that. That sounds delicious.
But that's like my favorite.
You know, they have that pretty much that exact same pizza at Hopatomica. Have you ever been to Hopatomica?
No, but I've heard people talk about it. Are we getting one?
Okay, we're not getting one, but in Savannah, everybody listen, in Savannah, Hopatomica has a fig and prosciutto pizza, and you need to go.
I'm gonna check that out.
It is delicious. It's probably one of the best pizzas I've ever had. So
good to know.
Yeah, you need to go. Go get you your food. Okay, what is your go-to comfort show?
So I never watched television until our son Carter went off to college. Mom life.
Yeah, you were busy.
And when I get still, I fall asleep. So I just haven't watched TV while I've been a mom. But when Carter went off to college, that was a really challenging time for me. Yeah. Madeline is in the 9th grade now, so she needs less of me as well. And teenagers like to be in their rooms a lot more and want to spend less time with their family. So when Carter went off to college, there was a big void, and I didn't know what to do with myself in the evenings. And so I overcame that sadness and that grief by trying to fill my time with something else. And Kevin said, let's start watching shows together. So we've watched a few things, and that's really new. That's like a new chapter in our relationship, that we watch things together at night. But right now we are watching Heartland, which is a series that I think has 19 or 20 seasons. And there's 13 or 14 episodes to every season.
So you've got a long way to go.
Ooh, there's a lot of episodes.
You're going to be very attached by then.
But it is a very clean. It's the storyline, in my opinion, of Yellowstone, but it's very clean. Yeah, there's no profanity. It's appropriate for children. Yeah, but it's kind of the same storyline, and but just like
on a ranch.
Yes, and so just good family television.
Love that.
But we also really like The Chosen too. We've watched The Chosen series as well. So, but those are the two that are our favorites right now.
It's a new era for you.
It is a new chapter.
Who knows what you'll be watching? We'll check in with you.
Yeah, this is new for me.
Yeah, well, that's good though that you found a way to kind of just relax and yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here and giving up your time. I know that you're really busy, but I think it's been really enjoyable. And I know that people will get a lot out of just your life experiences and all the wisdom and advice that you have given today. So,
well, I appreciate you pursuing me to do this, and I think it's been just really fabulous to think and focus on these things and to talk through them with you. And I love the podcast, and I wait every week for the next episode to drop. And I just think it's really fabulous. It's kind of something that I look forward to. So thank you for doing it.
Thanks, Caroline. All right, that's another episode of the ICU podcast. We'll see you next time.